Welcome, guys. We have a 2-game NBA slate to go over today. Pretty excited about this one. I hope you guys are having a good day so far. How you guys doing? Top 5 owns. Let's see. Griffin, James, Irving, Booker, Durant. Okay, that doesn't really surprise me too much. But thanks for posting in here, Encore. Yeah. Okay, so let's start with what we know so far. Then we can take a look at some Vegas odds. Go team by team, talk about players I like, and get to questions. So I think right now all we know is PJ Tucker is still starting. So we should get normal starters for the Bucks, or the same as the last game. As far as the Nets go, we're still waiting on that. But we should get that. We should get that news somewhat soon. Serge Ibaka doubtful for like the 20th straight game. What's going on, guys? Yeah, funny thing is, I actually didn't. I didn't ski at Snowbird. My girlfriend did, and she brought it back for me. So, but yeah, I've been out to. I've been out west a few times. I just never personally been to Snowbird. Okay, so let's take a look at these Vegas odds. Again, the Bucks and the Nets. I was talking about in my video last night about that's the game I want to focus on. There's a lot of good cheap options in this game. The spend ups I think look better. You know, I'm not saying to play 7 guys in your lineup for the first game. You don't have to. But I definitely think getting more exposure to the early game probably looks better to me. I mean, crazy stuff can happen, right? The second game can go to double overtime or something weird like that. But first game should be played at a much faster pace. Obviously, we have Harden out too, so that's a boost to some of the Nets guys. And then with the Nuggets and the Suns, the 219.5 over under. The Suns are 4.5-point favorites. Okay, so let's start off with the Milwaukee Bucks. And with the Bucks, we have Giannis Antetokounmpo at 11K. I think he is probably the safest spend up on the board. And it's just because I like the matchup the best for him out of any of the stars on the slate. He should play close to 40 minutes. He played 35 last game, got pulled with about 3.5 minutes left. Yeah, all that being said, I think Giannis looks like a really, really good play at the top. Now, with Middleton versus Drew Holiday, I think it's pretty close. I might have a small lean to Drew. I think Drew might be a little bit more popular as well, but he was on pace for over 40. He's a guy that's been handling the ball a ton. You can see it in the assists, right? 6, 9, 12, 15 assists. He had a subpar shooting game last game, 7 of 19. But, yeah, I do think Drew looks a little bit better than Middleton. Now, that doesn't mean Middleton can't outscore him. Again, we've seen some big games from Middleton. He's just, last 4 games, he's been struggling a little bit. 23, 39, 39, and 35 fantasy points. He shot awful last game, 6 of 23. If he has a better shooting game, we could see a big game from Middleton. So really what I'm saying is I like all 3 of the Milwaukee Bucks stars. I think they all look really good in this matchup. This is my preferred, target are the Milwaukee Bucks. I like the matchup the best for them on this 2-game slate. So I like the big 3 a lot. Giannis, I think, is my favorite spend up, and then probably rank Giannis and Drew, then Middleton. And then even some value, I think, is looking pretty decent as well. So, a guy like Brook Lopez, we should get around 30 minutes from him. He should be able to have his way against Blake Griffin or Nick Claxton. A solid point per minute guy, nothing crazy. He can get hot behind the 3-point line. He's had back-to-back good shooting games, 11 of 15, 8 of 11. So all that being said, I think he's a pretty safe play. Again, minutes should be about 30. I think he's a solid option. Bryn Forbes, I'm personally not really looking to get to him. I don't like playing guys that are super reliant in scoring. Now, could he get hot like a couple times during that Miami series? Sure, it's possible. And he can go for 25 to 30. But it's like the price doesn't make a ton of sense. He has to have a really good shooting game. So, Forbes is probably someone I'm not really super excited to get to. I didn't hear him talked about a lot, but I think a good contrarian value play on the slate is Bobby Portis. Portis probably gets somewhere around 15 to 20 minutes. He did play the last 3 minutes in garbage time, so I guess he was only on pace for about 14, 15 the first game. But, again, he's a guy that he can go out and get you a double-double in, 15 to 20 minutes. We know he's a stat stuffer, can kind of do it all. So I do kind of like Portis to get different. It's a 2-game slate. You got to take some risks. I think Portis is a nice contrarian value play. And PJ Tucker starting again. I think he's going to be pretty popular. I think we get somewhere around 30 minutes from him. Again, they kind of need his defense on a guy like Kevin Durant. We know Tucker is not a good point per minute guy, right? This is in the range of outcomes, like 8 fancy points in 25 minutes or something in that nature. So Don't expect a ton from him, but what it allows you to, if you play Tucker, is to get up to those stars. So I'm fine going to Tucker. I think this is one of the few playoff slates where I want to go more stars than scrubs. I think there's enough good value in the slate to get to the stars, and the mid-ranges isn't as strong in this one. So I think for me, I'm definitely looking to that stars and scrubs build. And Jeff Teague played a little bit last game, but it's just not enough for me to consider him. I think those minutes might even trend down a little bit. Oh, and then I'll mention Pat Connaughton, 235. I think he'll be a little bit lower owned. I think if people are going to punt, they're going to go to PJ Tucker. You could make the argument for Pat Connaughton, though. Again, not the best point per guy either, but he could outscore Tucker, and he should come in at lower ownership, would be my guess. And I think we get about 20 minutes or so from Pat Connaughton. So really a big boost with DiVincenzo out are, Tucker plays a little bit more, Connaughton plays a little bit more, and Forbes plays a little bit more. Okay, so let's move on to Brooklyn. I guess real quick before I hop into the Nets, if you guys are just coming in and Tucker 8 dunks, if you could leave a like button on the live stream. We're already at 200 viewers and 38 likes. Appreciate that, guys. Again, because every like, just allows me to get more views in these. So appreciate all the support as always. And let's move on. So on the Brooklyn Nets, we have KD, Kyrie at the top. Both look really good to me. Now, I even think you could play both of them because the offense is now really condensed without Harden, and it's like where it's coming from. It's KD and Kyrie, and KD should play about 40 minutes. Kyrie, crazy enough, he played basically the entire game. He played 45 minutes. That is insane. And he got pulled right with like a minute or two left, so he was basically going to play the entire game. And obviously with Harden out, Kyrie does a lot more of the ball handling at 8 assists. So I like both the Nets stars. I think, KD probably still has a slightly higher floor, but I really like both KD and Kyrie today. And again, I think you can make the argument for even playing both together if you want to. I think that'll kind of make your lineup different if you do that. Scrolling down for the Nets. So Joe Harris is a guy I just don't have a ton of interest in because of the price point. If he was like 4.5K, I would like him. 6K, hard for me to prioritize that. Now, could he still get this pay off the salary? Of course. He's just got to hit his shots. Right? He's not a guy that's going to start, rebound the ball more, getting more assists. He's still going to be that, 3-point shooter, kind of, hanging out around the 3-point line. So fantasy points are pretty reliant on scoring. I don't think his role changes a ton. Maybe gets a couple extra shots, but it's hard for me to prioritize a guy like Joe Harris on this one. Blake Griffin is going to be popular. It's for good reason. He played 35 minutes last game. He lost a couple minutes because he fouled out. I talked about this in the video. Am I expecting 35 minutes again from Blake? No. I mean, we could. But if we get anywhere close to that, if we get like 25 to 30, he's still probably the best value because, Blake, even though in the last game he didn't look as washed up, but he's kind of looked, a little rusty, obviously, with all his injuries he's had in the past. But it's just a price point thing, right? He's 4-1 and I think plays, I would say, at least 25 minutes, probably close to the 30-minute mark with upside for more minutes. He had a really good game last game. Again, I'm not expecting 46 fantasy points, but it's really just the minutes. It's the minutes that he played. They kind of need him out there. So, I think Blake Griffin makes for a really, really good value. A couple other value plays I like for the Nets. Bruce Brown, I think he would start. That would be my guess because correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure he came in when Harden went down. He played 21 minutes, actually a little bit less than in the previous games, but I'm expecting somewhere around 25 minutes from Bruce Brown. He's kind of a do-it-all guy, a solid defender. I like some Bruce Brown for value, and I think Mike James looks really good too at 3-3. The same thing I'll say about Blake Griffin. Am I expecting 30 minutes? Not necessarily. I think those minutes could go down, but if we get anywhere close to that, if we get 20 to 25, James is still he's a good point per minute guy. He's a good offensive player. I think him and Blake Griffin look really, really solid in this one. And Bruce Brown. I like a lot of the Brooklyn Nets today. Those three, I think, look like three of the better values on the board. I think you can even make the argument for Claxton. He probably gets somewhere around 10 to 15 minutes, maybe a little bit more if we get some Blake Griffin foul trouble. We know he's a solid point per minute guy if you want to go there in the larger field stuff. And, I mean, they did mention DeAndre Jordan possibly playing in the series. He got a DNP last game. Maybe if, Brook Lopez or Giannis are just smashing, that DeAndre Jordan could play. Again, it's not something I'm going to get to with my one lineup because I don't want to take a DNP, a 0. But, in the larger field stuff, if you're making 150 lineups, you can maybe throw Jordan in there for, 1 or 2 and just, roll the dice and hope this is a game he actually gets in the rotation. Because we know Jordan's actually a solid point per minute guy. It's just he's been out of the playoff rotation so far. Okay, let's move on to Denver and Phoenix. This game looks a lot less appealing for me. Again, like I said, I want more exposure to the first game. But with the Denver Nuggets, Nikola Jokic at 10.8K, I think is a safe play. It's just, you have to ask yourself, are you going to play Jokic over Giannis? For me, with my one lineup, the answer is no. The answer is no, right? The Suns are really solid defensively. Giannis is in one of the best possible matchups against Brooklyn. So the ownership should be pretty low, I would guess, in Jokic, right? I think I would rather have KD for less. I think I'd rather have Kyrie for like almost $2,000 less. I like the stars better in that early game. But I think a lot of people are thinking the same thing, right? And what I was trying to avoid is groupthink, I guess. We saw it last slate with everyone thinking that, Joel Embiid is going to be limited or like aggravate that injury. And again, he played full minutes and like no one played him. So like I feel like everyone's kind of thinking the same thing. Like obviously the stars look great in the first game, so Jokic should be pretty low owned. But like a low owned Jokic on a 2-game slate, like the ownership is what appeals to me, right? That's what appeals to me, not really the matchup. The fact that I think he'll be pretty low owned, right? We get literally 5 to 10% Embiid on a 2-game slate last game. Now, will we get 5 to 10% Jokic? No, I think it will be higher. But I do think he'll still be somewhat low owned. And that's kind of what appeals to me on the 2-gamer is, even though I think he's a little bit suboptimal on this slate, is the fact that a low owned Jokic is just, I love that in tournaments. Michael Porter Jr., I still don't know what to make of him. I don't. He got really hot in the last game. I think he had like 20 plus in the first quarter and like didn't score the rest of the game points wise. I mean, he started terribly in the early games of the series, finished strong the last couple of games. I just don't know which MPJ we're going to get. Obviously, this is a tough matchup too. Like Bridges, good defender. Jay Crowder, good defender. I think MPJ is in play for tournaments, but again, that is really where I'm looking to. I don't think I can make the argument for him in a cash game setting. Now we have Campazzo, Austin Rivers, and Monte Morris. So Campazzo was in some foul trouble the last game, only played 23 minutes, but he did play well. I think there's opportunity for him to play more. The minutes have fluctuated a little bit. He's played over 30 minutes a few times earlier in that series. I think that's going to kind of lower the ownership is the box score watchers, see the 7, see the 21. And I do agree, I don't think he's really optimal, but there's still a way Campazzo plays, 30, 35 minutes and, has a really good game at a low ownership. So another kind of tournament-only play for me. Gordon's one of those guys I always say just a fine filler play, right? We kind of know what Aaron Gordon is on this team. He takes a big step back offensively, but he still should get around 30 minutes. He can still get some rebounds, some assists, some blocks and steals. He's just not the Aaron Gordon that he was in the Orlando Magic. So all that being said, I think he's a fine filler player. Right? I'm not super excited about it. The guy that I am excited about, and one of my favorite plays on Denver is Monte Morris. He's really played well last couple games. I think we'll get somewhere around 30 minutes off the bench. It's just the fact that he handles the ball a ton. He has the floor of the assist, and he's just been shooting the ball well. He's been playing really confident. I think Monte Morris is a pretty solid play, even at 5.4. Now, Rivers, I think, will be a lot lower owned after he ruined a ton of people's lineups, including myself. 7 fantasy points in 40 minutes. So kind of just throwing that one out the window. The good thing that we're seeing is the minutes, right? He's seeing pretty big minutes in close games. So my assumption is we probably get somewhere around, I would say at least over 30 minutes, unless he gets in some foul trouble or he just plays god-awful. I think we get over 30 minutes from Rivers, which, sure, he's not a great point per minute guy, but he's 4K. I think that alone makes him in play is the minutes, right? And you have a couple guys on the bench I think are only really in play for, Millsap for sure only in tournament play because he should play, about somewhere around 12 to 14 minutes. He's actually a pretty productive guy playing the backup 5, but you kind of need something weird to happen. You need some early Jokic foul trouble for that to really work for Millsap. So Millsap, again, strictly just a tournament dart throw. JaMychal Green, I'm actually fine with in either format, and the reason is he's kind of solidifies his role off the bench. Mike Malone seems to like to get to him. He's a solid defender, should play around 20 minutes, a guy that can rebound the ball, maybe get you a block or a steal here and there. He's gone for 15, 22, 19, and 23 fantasy points the last 4 games. So I think he's a decent value. Again, I think his role is kind of solidified of about 20 minutes off the bench, which is fair value. All right, so let's finish up with the Phoenix Suns, guys. Real quick, last one more time. If you're just coming in to leave a like button, we're at just about 300 viewers and 70 likes. Appreciate all support as always. Again, guys, the like buttons do help me out a ton. All right, so on the Phoenix Suns side, Devin Booker at 8.5K, I think will be decently popular. I think he is obviously the guy that has the most upside of the big three for the Suns, right? Because Ayton's got to deal with Jokic. Chris Paul has been banged up with the shoulder. So shooting for the upside is clearly Booker. Now, the thing I'm a little bit worried about is I think the ownership might be inflated, right? Kind of a recency bias thing. 48 and then the big 70 bomb last game. This is still, like, I would prefer the matchup in the first game with a lot of those guards. Like, I think the matchup's better for Kyrie. I think I like the matchup better for Drew Holiday. But, yeah, Booker, again, is still the guy that I think has the most upside in this game. I think we get about 40 minutes from him. If he, shoots the ball really well like he did last game, we know the upside is pretty high, right? And he's only 8.5K. So I do have interest in Booker. I do think he's a solid spend up. My one worry is I think he'll be slightly over-owned based on what we've seen the last couple of games. Because, previous games, he didn't play too well, right? 34, 31, 33 fantasy points. Like, that is a floor if he's not shooting the ball that well, is like low 30s, which that's going to kill you if he does that at 8.5. That's going to absolutely kill you. So, yeah, there's merit to fading Booker for sure on this one. DeAndre Ayton, I have a hard time getting to. The reason being the price is up. Not only has he played awful last couple of games, but I mentioned in the video, it's just the offense doesn't go through him at all. Like the way he gets his points is like Chris Paul driving and throwing an alley-oop to Ayton, or kind of same with Devin Booker, right? Like there's not a lot of post-ups to DeAndre Ayton. And I think that does lower his floor. And plus the fact that he's going to have to defend Jokic, I'm a little bit worried about that. I'm not saying he's completely out of play. I just have a hard time prioritizing DeAndre Ayton on this one. Now, Chris Paul at 6'5", I sound like a broken record. How healthy do you think his shoulder is? Right? He played 29 minutes last game. I think we had somewhere around 30 minutes in a close game. I think it's a fair guess for minutes. If he's healthy, this price is too cheap, right? If Chris Paul plays like his normal minutes too and he's fully healthy, I mean, we know he should be like an 8K player. The reason he's 6'5" is, taking the fact into the injury and the fact that he's playing less minutes. So it's just a tricky one. But again, if we get somewhat close to similar minutes or, normal minutes for Chris Paul and he's close to back to full health, then this price is too cheap. So it all depends on how healthy you think that shoulder is. Again, if you think they continue to somewhat limit him, then I don't mind a guy like Cam Payne off the bench who should play about 25 minutes. Was pretty solid for them in the last series. And then kind of like the same thing I'll say about Aaron Gordon. Filler options and Crowder and Bridges. They're 3-and-D guys, more out there for defense. Crowder can hit some threes. We saw a couple big games from him, like the 2 times he didn't play him all series. That really tilted me. And Mikal Bridges has definitely taken a back seat offensively in the playoffs. He's really, again, more out there for his defense. But both should play over 30 minutes, which I think makes them fine filler plays in Bridges and Crowder. And then one more guy I'll mention is Cam Johnson. I think he could play somewhere around 15 to 20 minutes off the bench. A decent offensive player and a fair value play. Now, for me, I think I'd rather get to those Brooklyn Nets value, which I mentioned, over a guy like Cam Johnson. But if you're building a chalky lineup and you want to get different, maybe you just play Cam Johnson over one of those guys, right? You play Cam Johnson over Mike James. Sure, that's probably suboptimal, but that's going to make your lineup different in a 2-game slate. So, yeah, Cam Johnson playable. And I don't think I get to anyone else. Like Torrey Craig, revenge game if you're into that. Maybe gets 10 to 15 minutes. I mean, I guess he's the flat min price, but I'm not super excited about that one. And Kaminsky probably plays the back 5. I would guess it's Kaminsky, but it could be Sarge too. They kind of fluctuated the backup 5 role. If you want to take a dart in either Kaminsky or Sarge and hope for Ayton foul trouble, I don't think it's the worst play. I'm just not convinced who it's going to be. Right? It was Kaminsky for a little. It was Sarge to start the series. Then it was Kaminsky. I don't know who it's going to be if Ayton gets into foul trouble. So if you want to take a dart in, higher or the larger field stuff, you can do that. But not something I'm going to look to do with my one lineup. So, all right, guys, that's kind of it for my breakdown here. Let me see. Where am I at in this rebound pack? All right, I'm about to get a rebound pack for Top Shot. Here, let me throw this. Oh, there we go. Let me throw this on another screen so I can do this really quick. Okay, so news-wise, okay, but no surprise, Ibaka expected to miss a couple more games. Like, he's just not going to play anymore, right? You got to feel like he's just done. All right, let me Let me go ahead and get this rebound pack really quick, and then we can get to some questions. Sorry, guys. I would do this later, but it's definitely, you got to do it kind of when you get it. All right. Yes, that is me. What? All right, so leave some questions, guys, in the chat. I'll be on for another just under 10 minutes. So let's do it. I will open this later. All right, so Durant and Rivers or Kyrie and Crowder. That's a tough one. I think Kyrie and Crowder, but it's close. Yeah. I much prefer Crowder over Rivers. I think Kyrie and KD could be pretty similar. Thoughts on Mike James, Monte Morris, KD, Jermichael Green, Lopez. I think that looks pretty decent. I like the Stars and Scrubs build. Again, this is one of the few playoff slates where I'm actually liking the Stars and Scrubs. Favorite Bucks play not named Giannis? Probably Drew Holiday. Portis or Rivers? So I think it's definitely Rivers in a cash game setting because he should play a lot more. But I think Portis is a guy that can get it done in like 15-ish minutes at below 4K. So Portis, I think, is a fine tournament option. James, Drew, Middleton, Durant, Blake, Monte, Green, and Ayton for tournaments. Again, Ayton's the one guy I'm worried about there, right? I also think fading Giannis is pretty risky. Best utility, 6K and under. Okay, so that's kind of more in the mid-range. Let's see, 6K and under. Ooh, that's a tough one. I don't love the price in Joe Harris. I think Monte Morris at 5'4". I think it's Morris for me. Yeah. Show us the pack. I'll open it later. Yeah, it's just the common one. I didn't get the premium one, unfortunately. What do you think of Mike James, Devin Booker, Bruce Brown, Giannis, Griffin, Monte, Jamal? I like it. I mean, again, you're kind of stacking the early game. You got D-Book and Jamal Green in the late game. Having a hard time fading Book tonight. Yeah, I don't think you had to play Devin, or I don't think you had to fade him. I think he's going to be decently popular. I think there is merit, though. I think there is merit, a little recency bias. But yeah, Booker is clearly the guy on the Suns that has the most upside, right? All right, sorry for missing some questions, guys. Going a little bit fast. So Tori with the $10 super chat. Again, thank you so much. I have two lineups I'm deciding on. Can you take a look at both? Okay, so first one, you got Mike James, Drew Holiday, Bruce Brown, Giannis, Griffin, CP3, Tucker, and KD. And the next one is Mike James, Rivers, Bruce Brown, Giannis, Jokic, Kyrie, Griffin, and Mike Green. I prefer the first one. I like that build. Basically, you got the full stack with CP3 in there. That is the one I would lean to. Yeah. Chris Paul, Monte Morris, Bruce Brown, Giannis, Lopez, Rivers, Portis, and Durant. Definitely contrarian. Yeah, again, I think Portis will kind of differentiate that lineup. I like that you got the KD Giannis pairing in there. Bruce or Blake? I think it's got to be Blake. I'm more confident in his minutes, but I think both look pretty good for value. Yeah, both look pretty good. Mike James, Drew Holiday, KD, Giannis, Bruce Brown, CP3, Griffin, and PJ Tucker. I think it looks really solid. Are you playing Jokic? I am fading Jokic, at least on the 2-gamer. Showdown slate, I'm not fading Jokic. 2-gamer, I am. Yeah. Mike James, Monte Morris, Bruce Brown, KD, Giannis, Blake, CP3, and Gordon. Also, yeah, I think you guys got the right idea here. These are looking pretty good lineups. Giannis and Rivers or Durant and Lopez. Ooh. I think I'll still go the first one because I like the upside more with Giannis. That is pretty close. Obviously, I prefer Brolo to Rivers, but I think it's a close Giannis-Rivers one. On DK, Lopez, Tucker, or Crowder, 3K punt. Ooh, yeah, I think I would rather have the Lopez-Tucker one. I'm more like Tucker should play about 30 minutes. You just got to hope he falls into some rebounds and maybe get you like 15 to 20 fancy points. And Yeah, I think Brolo versus Crowder is pretty close, and just like I don't think it's worth the risk to go to one of those flat 3K guys. Kyrie and Rivers or Drew and Morris? That is pretty close. Because obviously I much prefer Morris to Rivers, but Kyrie just has a lot more upside than Drew. The first one, but just because I like the upside a lot in Kyrie. I still like Drew a lot, and obviously like Monte Morris a lot, but I think Kyrie looks like one of the better plays in the slate. Drew, Rivers, KD, Giannis, Blake, and Monte. I like that if that's your core, yeah. Can you fade CP3? Yeah, of course. If he's still a little bit banged up, there's argument to fade him. You know, the price point does look pretty appealing, but if he's only going to play like 25 minutes in this game, then yeah, you can definitely fade him. Kyrie, KD, Giannis, and a bunch of bums. Looks pretty good to me, yeah. Monte, Middleton, Bruce Brown, Porter Jr., Bobby Portis, Chris Paul, Durant, Lopez. Definitely contrarian, you know, with the MPJ, Bobby Portis pairing. That'll make your lineup different. And Portis will be lower owned. I think he's a good contrarian value play. Not going to play a ton. I think probably around 15 minutes. And MPJ obviously is the high risk, high reward play. Right, we've seen the low floor with him, but everything else looks pretty good. Value play most likely to bust. I guess PJ Tucker, and just because it's PJ Tucker, right? So I'm not saying to fade Tucker. I think he's okay value because he just opens up a lot. Paul and Drew or Kyrie and Payne. Now that one, I think I'll go the first one. I much prefer Paul to Payne, even though I like Kyrie a lot better than Drew. But that's pretty close. Green or Pat Connaughton. Maybe a small edge to JaMychal Green. I think he's a slightly better point per guy than Pat C. 3.5K and under, and you already have PJ. Then it's Mike James at 3-3. I think Mike James looks pretty good. Booker, okay, let's see. Booker or Jokic captain the showdown. For me, it's probably Jokic. I think he has a little bit of a higher floor. Guys, a couple of minutes left, so make sure you get the questions in if you want something to answer here. Drew, Kyrie, Brown, KD. Yeah, only one I'm shaking on is Bridges. Anything you think I could swap Bridges for? I think Bridges is a fine filler. Like, you know, he's going to play over 30 minutes most likely as long as he stays out of foul trouble. I don't think he's going to kill you. Will he, you know, go off? Probably not. But like, he'll probably get you around, you know, somewhere 20 to 30 fantasy points. I think that's fine. Mike James, Holiday, Bruce Brown, Durant, Griffin, Rivers, Middleton, Booker, GPP. Looks pretty good. Yeah, Mike James, Kyrie, Middleton, Giannis, Griffin, CP3, Bruce, and Rivers. Looking pretty similar to mine, too. I like it. Brooke Lopez, love. I think he's a pretty safe value play. Thoughts on Chris Paul, Kyrie, MPJ, Giannis, Blake, Mike James, Bruce Brown, and Lopez. Again, the one risk he wanted there obviously is MPJ. Is how does he perform against tougher defenders and guys like Jay Crowder and Mikal Bridges. And we've seen the, you know, up and down nature of MPJ's play. So I still really don't know what to make of him. I think the upside is still there for sure. Bridges and Lopez or Green and CP3. I think I like the Green CP3 one a little bit more. Oh, wow. Okay, yeah. That I'll go back and hit him with a quick ban. All right. Well, I'm coming up in the end, guys. Here, let me go ahead and... there we go. Okay. Yeah, I'll go. I'll have to mod some people so that stuff doesn't happen again. But yep, hit him with the big ban. Yeah, he just wants attention. Obviously, you're gonna have trolls like that in every chat. You are. It's just one of those where it's like he just wants attention. Last piece in DK, Cam Johnson or Millsap? That's a good question. I think Cam Johnson is a little safer because I think he has more upside for minutes. But then again, Millsap's like the better point per guy. So I think it's pretty close. I do think Cam will be a little bit more popular. Yeah, again, people just like trolling. Exactly. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. All right, guys. So that is going to do it for me. Yeah, I'll have to mod. I'll do that. I'll do that later. I'll have to mod some people. Definitely E Hicks. I'll mod Matthew. A few of you guys. Yeah. Um, exactly. All right, guys. Appreciate all the support, guys. We hit over 100 likes. We hit, I think, just about 300 concurrent viewers in this one. So appreciate all the support. And I'll be back here tomorrow. We got another 2-gamer. So I will see you guys all then. Good luck tonight.